There we go. Okay. All right. All right. We're very late. I apologize. I misclicked one button. Anyway, let's try that from the top. Welcome everyone to Campfire Stories 2024. Apologize for the delay, but here we are. Yeah, this is really about getting storytellers together. Vast Vision has created a Discord. You can check the link in the YouTube video to head over there if you want to be part of the live chat. We're reaching out and talking to a bunch of storytellers. We're working with Aurora Punks. We're shooting from their beautiful studio here in Stockholm in Södermalm. And they're an indie games publisher who helps indie crews get their games off the ground, and very much in the spirit of what we're trying to do, bringing a bunch of cool people together to do some jazz and some storytelling. So before I go on for too long, let's introduce our first guest, Ola Lindholm, who I met randomly at a party in far north Sweden, in I get Skellefteå, which I have never properly said. Everyone,
Skellefteå.
Skellefteå.
You're
Anyway,
all right. You're okay.
and it was also at Nordsken, which I also don't say very
Yeah.
well either. But
Nordsken.
Nordsken.
Do you know what it means?
I don't.
Nordsken. It's what do you call it in English? You know, when the sky turns green and it's called.
Oh, literally Aurora. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Aurora. Yeah.
Okay.
Nordsken.
Well, there we go.
Aurora.
There
Yeah.
we go. And you'll notice I picked in the background this way, Volgar the Viking. Maybe you can't see it very well, but there's a video game system behind me, and I look for one that might be appropriate for you. So, I guess your Viking heritage. I don't know. That's all I got.
Yeah. I should be.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Ola, we want to kick this thing off where, I met you at a gaming business convention
Yeah.
about a year and almost 2 years ago now. And
Yeah.
I found you had such an interesting story, and, you're a writer, you're an author, you work in television as a producer, and you've been in the kind of the Swedish scene here your whole life. So I'm kind of curious, growing up in Sweden, what is it like being a storyteller, and how did that all start for you?
Oh, that's a big question. Well, for me, really, it started when I was young. Let's define storyteller first. What is a
Sure.
storyteller? Yeah, all of us are storytellers in some way.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But what I find is there's some people that are better storytellers than others.
That's true.
I guess. But for me, it started with being on stage at a young age in southern parts of Sweden. We had a house. We had a club, I guess you can say. In Sweden, we used to have these non-drugs and alcoholic cultural clubs.
Okay.
Where all kids could come and play music and play
Right.
theater and everything.
Yeah.
And every town had one in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
And in my town, it was quite a good one and a big one. And instead of whatever kids do nowadays, we hanged out at this house, and there was adults there that were playing music, and they invited us in and let us be a part of the cultural scene in our little small town. So that's where it started. And since I chose the trumpet as a music instrument at a very early age, I didn't really fit in with other musicians,
Right.
my punk friends that was playing guitar.
Yeah.
And sitting by the campfire, when you were 16 years old and 15 years old, and you want to impress girls,
Right.
You took out a guitar. I took out a trumpet. Yeah, so I got into.
How'd that work for you?
Not at all. Not at all. So I got into a little bit of theater and stuff like that.
Okay.
And in Sweden, we have something called a New Year's review.
Mm-hmm.
where the local theater ensemble jokes about the year that has been.
Okay.
So you set up this show, and there's jokes. It's a review.
Yeah.
And the local band is playing, and everybody's coming there, and it's local issues you make fun of. And
Right.
so when I was 15, 16 years old, I was part of that, and part of that was writing the jokes and writing the skits and stuff like that. So that's how I got started.
Okay. So, and where did you grow up? In the city? Did you grow up in a small town?
Well, in a small town in Blekinge, in the southern part of Sweden.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a small little shit town.
I mean, it feels like, my daughter, we live in Stockholm, and it feels like there is a really nice theater. Like, it's an important thing, I feel like, in the culture even now. Like, you can find so many programs for kids to get into, which is wild.
In Stockholm.
Yeah, in Stockholm, yeah. And then even just like talking to other people from different parts of the country, it feels like that's always accessible to people, which is, I think, kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, I guess Sweden has been very, very good at involving kids in culture. In many ways, in theater and music and so forth. So we've had many opportunities.
Yeah.
But I find but me growing up here, I've seen a decline in this.
Okay.
In small towns, unfortunately, because everybody was allowed in to play at musikskolan, the music school.
Yeah.
That every county had a music school. It was their own house, and everybody could come there and play.
Wow.
And it was free for everybody, so everybody could. And they're cutting down on that more and more and more. And now there's not a house in every town,
right?
But the teachers, come to school, and it's being a part of school instead, and then it's not so much fun anymore. And
yeah. It's progress, right?
Yeah.
So you did theater, and when you were 15, 16, it was at a time when you kind of figured, this is something I really want to do, or was there a clear path to that for you?
No, it's still not. I never knew what I wanted to do. I'm 53 now. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea, really. I guess it's just the way that was laid down in front of me.
Yeah.
At every turn, I seem to take that turn.
Yeah.
That way, and it ended up being my career in many ways. So and it's been, yeah.
So we didn't kind of properly do the intro, I suppose. So, I mean, we talked about how we met, but why don't you kind of talk a little bit? We'll kind of go back to how you got there, but why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of what you're up to, and what maybe in Sweden. I know you from our conversations, but maybe what people should know about you.
Yeah. If you have no idea about me, which you shouldn't have if you're like watching this from North America, if you didn't live in Wapakoneta, Ohio in 1987, I was an exchange student.
It'd be amazing if there was one person who did.
Yeah, it would. It would. No, so I don't know really what I am. I'm a lot of things. I'm an author. I've written 9 children's books. I'm a producer for television. I've been a host for television for a long time. I did that for like 15, 20 years. I've done, the biggest shows in Sweden, Melodifestivalen, and I've done shows, but I'm probably most recognized from children's shows, big children's shows. And I've been writing for stage, and I've been directing, and whatever comes my way. I never want to do things twice.
Okay.
Which is a problem, because you never get better at what you do then. So you do it once, and then I have to move on.
Yeah.
It's like I get bored.
Yeah.
So I'm like starting over my career after every contract.
I have a kindred spirit with that, man. I don't last too long in one place.
No.
Okay, so yeah, you had a theater background, and then you know, you say you've just kind of been rolling along and taking things as they come. What was those early years like after, you know, after you finished gymnasiet and moved on into, you know, the next phase?
Yeah, what really happened was I moved up to Stockholm. I moved into a friend's apartment. He played the guitar.
Of course.
And I had very long hair and I couldn't play anything, so I played the washboard. And I was charming.
Oh yeah.
I could hardly keep the beat.
Right.
So we had a duo. And we're playing not venues.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, very small, like pizzerias and pubs in Stockholm for black money in the pocket.
Yeah.
For a while. And then he had a friend who worked in television, and they were looking for somebody to just, you know, present shows on a small channel in Sweden at that time.
Okay.
And they tipped about me, that long-haired guy that speaks funny.
Plays the washboard.
I do in Swedish. In Swedish, I have a recognizable way of speaking. So they called me up and said, "Do you want to try for television?" And I said, "Well, I don't have any money, so does it pay?" And I got the job, and
Wow.
And that's how it started. And then I moved on to another small channel, which was like the equivalent of MTV in Sweden.
Yeah.
Called the ZTV.
Yeah.
We had MTV, but we also had our own MTV. That was a crazy time with a lot of crazy brains with no control doing television. That was out of control. It was fun, and that's my school really. So
okay, so that time when you were working for this music channel, what was that all about for you when you were in that place? What were you wanting to do? Like, why did you see an opportunity there?
Well, I don't know if I saw an opportunity. It was a job, and it was my. It's like I think, you know, when you have a brain that's never more than 1 hour ahead of you, or and you don't remember anything.
Yeah.
Going back, you're just in it.
Yeah.
But what I remember is that I felt that I was in the right place, and that I understood the media, and I understood what I had to do and what we had to do to make people react emotionally to what we did. And I never learned that, and nobody taught me that.
That's interesting.
It was an intuition thing, and I think that's the case for many people. Many storytellers,
yeah,
they have an intuition about it. They know it. They can go to classes, they can go to, you know, and learn about this and that, and
yeah.
But in the end, it's an intuition thing. You have to know what makes people tick or make people react emotionally, and if you do that, you can do almost anything.
I mean, is that something that you think you discovered when you were working in that channel, or was this something you kind of knew all along about yourself? Like you had this way of interacting with people?
No, I discovered that, I guess.
Yeah.
Because the first job I got when they found me with my long hair and everybody hated me, and somebody, you know, you didn't get emails at that time. You got real written letters. People sat down and wrote with pen and paper, "I hate your fucking guts. Get out of my screen."
That doesn't feel very Swedish to me, but it does at the same time because it's a letter. So I guess it kind of does.
And they didn't sign it.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Yeah. But what I learned then, because I did somebody else's script.
Okay.
I was still, you know, I was 20 years old, and they told me, you get a paycheck if you say this. It's funny. I never thought it was funny, but who am I to, you know? So I did it, and everybody hated it. And then I got to this other channel, and I said, nobody's writing my script. I'll do it.
Nice.
And then suddenly I got a whole different reaction. So I guess that's what led me to believe that I might know something.
And how long were you at this at the ZTV?
I was there for 4 years, and did a lot of shows. I did well. I was a VJ.
Okay.
I did talk show. You did everything.
Yeah.
I did a show where we reviewed movies. So I saw in 96 and 97, I saw all the movies that came out, all of them. And we reviewed them in our show.
Nice.
So I was a movie reviewer
Yeah.
at 26 years old,
Yeah.
and we had a lot of fun doing that. But so I saw all the movies those years. So I know everything about the movies coming out in 96 and 97.
That's amazing. I think there's so much, obviously it's that idea of just kind of doing wild things and kind of that energy is something you do when you're younger. But I really feel like even as I get older, I really want to return that. Like, this is kind of part of why I want to do this, is like get really interesting people together, and who knows what can happen out of it, and what kind of cool new art thing can jam out of it. And yeah, we get, I worked in the games industry for I don't know, 4 years, and I found that people are all separated. Like, the artists stay over there, the writers, you stay over there. And it kind of feels like kind of anti-creative explosion, So I like that idea of that energy where you guys are just kind of, I like, it's like a renegade, right? You're just doing, and no one's stopping you. Like, no one's checking in on it. It's just pure chaos. I love that.
And if you're 45, 50 years old in Sweden today, you know about ZTV, and you know what that was. It was Renegade TV, just as you say. It was, and a lot of people that were showcased in ZTV and worked there are now, big time hosts or producer, are some of the most creative people in television today.
Wow. Does that because I'm not super in touch with like I know SVT and stuff like that, but do you think that exists now in the Swedish culture and entertainment? Like, is there a pocket of that exists in the Swedish zeitgeist of a bunch of renegades doing what you guys did, do you think?
Not in television. That's YouTube.
Yeah.
All the YouTubers and the crazy gangs that put together a channel, and they use their phones or a small camera and they just do stuff.
Yeah.
That's where it's happening today. But we were YouTube back then.
Right.
And we did it, and somebody paid us to do it.
Did you guys ever get in any trouble for some of the stuff you did? Like, was there reactions to maybe some over the top stuff?
No, not really. I mean, it was youth against really old people, and and we didn't. I never read a review or I was never interested in what happened outside the four walls of this TV station.
Right.
We were just having a drink for 4 years and turning on the camera.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. But what you're talking about, what I'm reacting to when you're, with this Campfire stories and everything you're trying to achieve, it seems just like, you want to go back in time.
Right.
Or create a place that's more similar to what we had 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Where people had to collaborate and in another way than they do today. Everything's been streamlined, and everything has to, make money.
Right.
Nowadays, if it doesn't make money, it shouldn't be there.
And what do you think about that? Like, what are your thoughts on how that's happening? Because I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, this is definitely why we're doing stuff like this, is to like free people up again, to realize, anything is possible. There's so many avenues for creative people now, and I think coming together gives us those opportunities. But what are your thoughts about that? Like, obviously you're seeing it. What do you think is kind of behind it? Have you thought about, I guess not solutions, but have you thought about that topic in general?
Well, I don't have any solutions. I wish I
Oh,
did.
then get off the channel. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I would be rich, wouldn't I? No, but what I find is that, the creative space is more, has walls around it nowadays, somehow, because everything is business,
Yeah.
in one way or the other. So you don't talk about it, and you don't, and you have to protect what you're doing, and because there's so many people doing it, so you have to protect. Everybody's so protective.
Yeah.
I'm working. I told you before we went live here that I'm producing a big show
Yeah.
for ABBA's 50th anniversary
Yeah.
here in Sweden. It's a big live show. We have 15 musical acts, and if I had done this 20 years ago, if I had done the 30th anniversary of ABBA, I would have no problem, calling up all the artists.
Yeah.
And say, hey, do you want to be a part of this, or don't you? Oh, just come in for a meeting. Hey, let's jam and see what we're going to do. Today there's layers and layers of people, and there's teams around young artists, and so you don't reach them in the same way. And
Interesting.
in some ways that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because everything that comes out is very good, but sometimes it's overproduced and you have to let your mind free a little bit.
Interesting.
So I guess that goes for all types of storytelling. Music is storytelling, but it goes for everything, and I think it's sad, and because it's not as fun as it used to be.
Yeah, it is weird how this is something that I've been thinking about a lot too. Like one of the the term like IP, intellectual property, like how it's starting to make it harder and harder to tell stories because people say, well, that's mine. I own that one. You can't come across that line. And I think the whole Campfire Stories really thing came about of like, we used to sit around fires thousands of years ago, and that was the only stories we got was when somebody like came through town and was, traveling storyteller.
Yeah.
But if, like nowadays it would be like if that person was telling a story at a campfire, a lawyer would show up and say, hey, you can't tell that, we own that one. It's it's like a weird thing, and it's really pervading the society. I was what's this artist name? He's a Canadian artist. He's one of the biggest in the world right now. I'm old, so I don't remember his name, but he got sued because he was using a drum beat that somebody else used. And I'm like, we can actually sue for like, you can't go but a bup bup bup. That's mine. It's like, what are we living in? This is a nightmare.
We're going to be sued by AI soon because we're using quotes from AI.
Right.
Yeah, they're coming for us.
It's dystopian.
Yeah. But then again, storytelling is universal, and it's been the same for forever.
Yeah.
And we need it, and it's going to keep going, and people are going to tell stories.
Yeah.
And someday the IP is going to blow up in our faces, and we can just get back to having a good time.
And not fearing the story lawyers.
Yeah, I have a lot of stories that I'm never going to get off the ground, that I just want to give out to people, but and let them have some fun with it and see if something happens.
Yeah, I mean that's this project I'm working on right now. I don't want to talk about my projects, but just really about this idea of what you said earlier about being afraid of sharing stuff because that person, people are going to steal it and they're going to do it before me. And I think that's kind of what IP law has really taught us, that you can't trust people and share. But this project I'm working on now, it was just going to be a comic book, and these two musicians wanted to see what we're working on, and they liked it, so they started writing music in it. And if I was like, well, how do I split the IP so we all get a share and all that? I'm like, we just went with it. And man, it's been like a lot of fun. I don't know who owns it. We're all making it together. We'll see at the end what this thing is. But that's where I want to go. Like, that's where I want to go back to, is that free flow and just, let people in. And stuff that I'm telling is far more interesting when someone who's had a different life experience comes in and adds their angle to it, you know,
Yeah.
and that's why stories are better when they're with a group of people, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, but people are not as generous anymore. I feel,
Yeah.
and if we could get back to generosity, I think that's a good thing in storytelling and in working together. If we
Yeah.
just can stop being so protective and just have some fun. But that is hard too,
Yeah.
because because you have to know that.
Yeah.
When you meet somebody, you have to, are we generous to each other, or are
Right.
we making a business together?
Yeah.
And that's so it's hard, but you need to go there. You know what's happening to a Swedish guy that never speaks English when he's spoken for half an hour? Your mouth is getting a little bit tired. It's because it's different muscles. It's different muscles.
We could switch to Swedish, but that would be a
No.
disaster.
I love it. I love it. And but it's fun because storytelling, because this is also storytelling.
Yeah.
In some way, we're telling a story in this interview.
Yeah.
When you're not talking in your native tongue,
Yeah.
search for words all the time. Before you speak it, you search for the word,
Oh, yeah.
and which ends up being not as good a story as it could be.
Right. Well, I think you're doing fine. This is
no, I'm having fun. I'm
Yeah.
having fun.
Yeah, I mean, how often do you speak English? I always just assume, because like when everywhere I go, even if I try to speak in Swedish, they just switch to English because my accent is so obvious, and they're like, I don't want to speak Swedish with you. I mean, how often are you speaking English?
Well, hardly ever.
Really?
So I don't know. I'm making an app right now because I'm a middle-aged media man, so I have to make an app.
Got to make an app, yeah.
Yeah, so see if I can just cash out and sit by the campfire and tell stories.
Right. Is that the way to do it? Now you just got to make an app.
And the developer who's writing the code,
Yeah.
is Syrian and speaks English, and we're talking about in English. His English is okay.
Yeah.
My English is okay.
Yeah.
But then we have to talk about technical stuff doing an app, and we're talking like this all the time. So this app is like, it could have taken 3 months.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to be able to retire it on it all.
No. It's coming out in a month or so. So we're getting there now.
Okay. Well, what's this app about? What's the hope for it here?
Well, it's really it's an app for people with ADHD, with lists and calendars that are more suitable for people with ADHD. That's a little bit calmer and a little bit cool,
Yeah.
a little bit more. So that's what it is.
Okay.
Hopefully it's
like a planning, like kind of
there's thousands of planning apps out there, but I didn't find the one I needed, so I built it.
Well, there you go. That's a good sign, make what you love. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, okay. So,
but that's one thing about storytelling. Really. If you're confident enough and you have some experience, you will end up knowing, that if I need it, or if I enjoy it, or if I laugh at it, or if I cry at it because of it, or if I get excited, other people will feel the same thing.
That's true. Absolutely.
And that's really key, I think, for storytellers.
Yeah.
That they keep close to their own, feelings.
Yeah.
And they don't try to, what do you call it? Calculate what people should feel or think or in a story. But if they feel it, other people are going to feel it.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, it's I in a lot of time in my career, I had a pretty big successful hit in comics like 10 years ago. And I kept on trying to recapture that, and I wasn't making stuff that I needed to or that I was passionate about, but like I got to make that thing again. And, I think it's only been recently where I've made something really from my heart. And it really
Yeah.
does, that energy just like, I find that it attracts the right people to you.
Yes.
If it resonates with them, they want to be part of it. But it also, if people, they're like, I don't get what this is. This is weird. That's also interesting because you're like, those people
Yes.
clearly, this isn't for them. And especially when you're trying to build a team or trying to get something new off the ground, it's so cool that it works that way. And at least I'm enjoying that process again of finding people that really get what I'm trying to do. But it is kind of from that passionate place, not from the cynical, how do I market this thing?
No.
That's for
No.
later.
And I mean, everybody knows this. We know this. We've
Yeah.
known this for, for the duration
Yeah.
of storytelling.
Yeah.
But you have to reinvent or refeel that, and every new storyteller has to find that place when they believe that what they feel is what the audience feel.
Yeah.
And go with that and be honest and genuine about it. And if you don't, it's not going to be as good. That's what's happening with Marvel.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but
there's no passion.
It's not calculated.
Yeah.
The first movies they're not calculated in that sense. They felt it. Oh, we love this.
Yeah.
And now they're losing it, and it's because they're calculating the scripts. And
it's not like a passion project for anyone doing it. They're like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Get my paycheck.
Yeah.
So you're also an author, and I just this topic made me think of your books Kung Pao, because I know you and Johan have talked about, like, you guys talk with a lot of passion about that book, and it really feels like it comes from a place, like, first of all, like, you can tell us a bit about it, and then it really does feel like it's a fun book for you guys, and tell me a bit about why that is.
Yeah, so Kung Pao is a story about a 12-year-old boy, of course, with no parents. It's the easiest way to tell a story. That gets trained by this master of Kung Pao. To be the greatest agent in the world, and they face the biggest villains in the world. So that's about it. But the fun story behind it is, and I don't know if you know this character, but there's a book series, and they made one movie, a book series in America, which is called The Destroyer. In the 80s.
No.
It was, what we called, paperback books, cheap books, and called The Destroyer. And the hero's name is Remo. I think there's a movie called Remo.
Really?
Destroyer. And I know that if somebody listening to this, somebody is going, and we just stole that book. We just stole it. Because I read 80 of those.
Wow.
There's like 160 of them. And when I was in my 20s, I read like 80 of those.
Wow.
And it was an American ex-cop that died and came back and was trained by a master of from North Korea, a master of Sinanju.
Yeah,
it was called there. And I loved those. And one day I was walking around. What should I write for like 12-year-old boys?
Yeah.
Remember that book, and I said, let's do that, but for kids. So I just stole the backstory and everything.
An homage.
An homage. And wrote about that. So, and that was very fun because Swedish literature for kids is very, very, very good, and it's lots of it, and it's a big, but it tends to be about feelings and serious stuff. And that's really important. And we've grown up, and there's only Astrid Lindgren.
Yeah, right.
And she's the pinnacle of everything.
Yeah.
And what we wanted to do was like, can we just turn Die Hard into a kid's book and have some fucking fun, and just don't they don't have to feel anything,
Right.
except laughing
Yeah.
and a little bit of excitement. They don't have to learn anything. They don't have to. It's not about friendship or
Right.
losing somebody, or just have some fun. And that's why
What was
very fun.
what was the reaction when you started pitching that around? Like, was there a kind of a reservation about doing something like
Oh
that?
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We went up to the biggest publishing company, which is Bonnier, and I had published 2 books before that. That was really heartfelt and
Okay.
Swedish, and in that sense. And we said, okay, we want to write a book series about a 12-year-old guy that solves every problem with violence. It's gonna be fun. Let's go. and they were like, what? What? And only women, of course,
Yeah.
in the publishing company. And we told them, well, let's if you want to make boys read something new, and we want to make a book that could lie beside the video game and look like it belongs in the same world.
Yeah.
And that is easy and fast to read and just gets your juices flowing.
And what's the respect? I mean, I'm sure you've talked to young boys that have read it. What's their feelings about it?
No, they love the guys that read it, love it. So and they have fun with it. And the master of Kung Pao, he's 135 years old and he's addicted to his phone. So that he's really the child,
right?
And 12-year-old is really the adult.
Yeah.
So they love it. So and that's fun.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I bought the first book for my daughter to read, and she doesn't like reading just straight up books. She likes like comics or manga. She's big into manga. But then I was like, well, I'm gonna read this book. So I think I messaged you or tagged you. I'm like, yes. I'm reading your book, and I'm like, every word that I don't know, I write down in an English. I think I got to like the 4th page, and I really need to get back to it, because to be honest, it actually helped. It actually helped.
Yeah.
Like it's a simpler language for me, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, if you're gonna learn a language, you should read children's books.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a good way. Yeah.
Yeah. I think your writing buddy, his name's Johan, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He was like, well, you're gonna learn this, the most important words, which is a rhinoceros machine guns on his back.
Yeah. Right. But that was fun too. When you build your own world, and everybody knows that, you can go wherever you want.
Yeah, totally.
You can have a villain that have stolen all the gorillas in Africa and made an army of them and puts machine guns on rhinoceros and go crazy in the jungle.
Yeah.
You can have a 12-year-old that fights them all off.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you can tell from the way you're talking about it, you guys love working on it. I mean, is this something you guys just going to keep doing, or what are your plans for future books?
Yeah, we've done 8 books now, and I think both me and Johan are, as I told you in the start, I do things once, and then
right.
And 8 books has been oh Jesus.
Yeah.
We're taking a break right now, and I know it's been pitched for a television series and everything, but in Sweden that's very hard, because everything is going down the drain, so nobody want to invest right now. So I guess that's not happening, but you never know. Someday somebody knocks on the door and says, can we do this?
Yeah. What's the industry like here for television? Like, you've worked in that for quite some time now. What kind of makes it unique, I suppose? in your mind?
Absolutely nothing. And that's 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 a problem.
Yeah.
I guess it's and I feel that very, very strongly. I've been working at this SVT, which is Swedish television, the big, which is NPR, not NPR, but what do you call it in America or in North America? Public.
PBS.
Yeah, PBS. It's PBS in America, and that's very small in America. But in Sweden, SVT is the big, and in many European countries, the public broadcasting service is big. And I feel that it's getting more and more cowardice and more streamlined. Like, people are getting afraid to be out there a little bit, because the backlash is instant, and it's hard and it's fast from social media and so on. And
like, what kind of backlash? Like, what sorts of things would be, we don't want this anymore? What kind of stuff triggers that in the Swedish population?
But I know Sweden is a small country.
Yeah.
People can reach people very fast.
Yeah.
And it's a community, and I think people are getting a little bit trigger scared. Can we do this?
Right.
Oh, wait, people are going to react, and they're going to react this way. Oh, no, let's not do it, because my personal space is going to be invaded, and blah, 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 blah,
right.
blah. And in America, it's such a vast country, so people can say things and do things on television, and backlash it doesn't really reach them in the same way. And we're talking about journalists here, of course, but also entertainers. Let's streamline. Let's not, go too much over the top. I produced now. It's coming the third or fourth season. About the term SFE, Swedish for...
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this, actually, because you were talking about this when we met. I was going to ask how it was going.
Yeah. So we did a show on Swedish television, and this contradicts what I'm saying now, but this is really the flaming torch in the darkness.
Yeah.
So we did a show, and I was a co-producer on the first season, called EFS, which is Immigrants for Swedes.
Yeah.
So we just played with words.
Right.
So it's really Hollywood Squares, Hollywood Squares.
Yeah.
But we put 9 immigrants, which all are comedians.
Oh, nice.
In the squares, and we have Swedes, looking like me, competing.
Yeah.
And all the questions were about immigrant culture, different cultures, and it got very intense, and people were really, really afraid, because you can't joke about this, and you can't joke about this, and
no,
because the sign of the time, or you can't say this or that.
Yeah. And
suddenly we could, because we didn't say it. It was the comics that said it.
So you gave them a space to be able to say what.
And it just blew up, and it's the biggest show for non-Swedes in Sweden, because everybody want to see it, and it's very, very, very funny, and it takes the conversation to a different place where people can relax their shoulders and just laugh together.
What is you said for immigrant Swedes? What about like the Swedish people that are not immigrants? What is their reaction to? Is it the same thing? Like, everyone's having a laugh, or is there been a kind of a weird reaction that way?
No, of course not. I mean, for the majority Swedes, I think it's people that are cool love it, or don't care about it, or sees it and finds it funny, and because it's funny. Yeah, fun is fun. Yeah. But of course, there's a lot of people that says, "Am I paying for this shit? Look what they're doing. How can they have these immigrants or sitting on prime time, and this is not funny, and blah 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 blah. And of course, we got your everyday racist everywhere.
No.
Yeah, we do.
So, okay. So I mean, this was your you co-produced it.
Yeah.
What was the idea? Like, where did this idea come from? Like to try something like this out?
It really came from a Swedish comedian
Hmm.
that came up with the idea, and then me and him developed
Yeah.
it, and then since we were two middle-aged white Swedish guys, that didn't feel right in the context. So then we brought in a host, which is a comedian in Sweden, named Ahmed Beran,
Hmm.
and some of his friends, and that whole community, and said, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
So they took it over, really. So for the first season, I just, I overlooked it, so it
Okay.
turned out to be television.
Right.
But it wasn't it was their show and their story to tell.
You're just facilitating it,
I
and
was facilitating it
yeah.
from the start, because it had to be theirs.
Yeah.
Or else all the fun or all the relaxation in it would
Yeah.
have been gone away.
But I think it's cool that you saw the potential of it, and I feel like we need so many more people who feel like that that is another thing that this vast vision thing we're doing about is really about creative courage, to
Yeah.
to back people that have meaningful stuff to say, and sometimes sometimes it's uncomfortable, and we want to stand by people that have something important to say. And I think it's cool that you saw that and made that happen. I think
Yeah, and in one episode, one of the questions, or it's really the statements, Hollywood Squares, it's
yeah.
statements. So the statement or the question was to the panelist. So the question from the host was, what day is International Kebab Day? And he looked in the camera and just said, September 11th. And everybody, just broke down and were, oh, Jesus Christ, what the fuck? What is he saying? And this poor Swedish, white woman was like, to answer if that was true or false.
Oh no.
And she was standing like, oh God, but who's joking here?
Yeah, yeah.
Joking. And is the joke on me? Am I a racist? What the fuck? That's what's happening. And she said, no, it can't be true. And it actually is. And it was instated before 2001. So it's International Kebab Day is 11.
That's amazing.
And it's been like that since 1994 or something. And that makes for, we can be, shocked, and we can laugh together, and we can somehow, and it's a crazy show, but it's very, very, I think it's very, very good, because it raises the bar of what we can say and not say, and we can laugh together, and that's the most important thing.
That's cool, man. I mean, yeah, it reminds me of kind of those like the Ricky Gervais, he's like the king of cringe humor. Like that's what that feels like to me. Just everyone.
Yeah,
a bomb
you can feel a pin drop before the squeamish sounds from the audience.
Yeah.
Like, oh, did he say that? Oh, what the fuck? And it was just a question. It was the truth.
Yeah.
It was the truth, and it's well, everything is context.
So. Yeah, absolutely. But that's cool, man. I mean, I think it's a really cool thing that can. I'm glad it can exist here, and that I mean, you said earlier that in America that kind of that doesn't exist because the country's so big. But I would actually argue it for a while. It was maybe worse. Like, comedians weren't able to,
Yeah,
they were getting canceled and stuff.
yeah, that's true.
And actually, I kind of find Swedish culture. This is just like a outsider coming in, but I really feel like you can have a lot of different opinions, and like you can disagree on things. It's not that big of a deal, if you have different political views and stuff, and that's kind of nice.
I love it that you feel that way.
Maybe
And
that's not true, but that's how I
yeah,
feel.
no, but I hope it's true.
Yeah,
A good friend of mine, or Johan, by the way, that I
yeah,
wrote books with,
yeah.
he once said that the worst thing about Facebook and social media
Hmm.
is nowadays you have to decide if you can stay friends with somebody,
Yeah.
because we didn't know. We
Right.
didn't know back then. We just had a blast with somebody, and hey, he's my friend, and you
Yeah.
talked about this and that. You never got into that he hated Somalians.
Right.
You know,
That
you
didn't
never
kind
you never knew that.
yeah.
So you didn't have to make a choice all the time
Hmm.
uh, with people,
Yeah.
and that's a big problem nowadays. That's what divides us, because you always have to make a choice
Hmm.
somehow. You befriend someone on Facebook, and you met someone at a concert or whatever, and then 2 days later you see, like, what the fuck is that
Yeah.
guy writing? Okay, I don't want to talk to him anymore.
Interesting.
And that's just, a percentage of that person's personality, and
Yeah.
you we disqualify each other constantly, and
Yeah.
that's a big problem.
Yeah. There's this is something that me and my wife Shannon talk a lot about. There's a difference between truly bad people and messy people, and I think
Yeah,
we've got it. We're putting them all in one category, and we all have things in our lives. It's like, I had a pretty messy period, and I would not want a lot of that stuff brought up to light. But that's where I really feel like, again, and kind of the spirit we're trying to do is give people grace, because we're all messy, and there's no excuse for, I would say, people that are truly
yeah,
awful.
of course, of
But
course.
it's such a small amount of people that really are, and
Yeah,
yeah, I like messy people. That's what creatives are, man. We're all real
yeah.
messy people.
But if you took a screenshot of yourself right here now with your
Yeah,
beard, vulgar background here,
yeah,
and you put that on Facebook, and I never knew you, I never talked to you, and I
yeah.
saw that, I would instantly feel that you had some connection to the Swedish national, uh, uh,
I
you understand what I say?
yeah, I do. I
Yeah,
do.
okay. That guy's he's down with the Vikings, and he
That
he loves the old Sweden, and
Yeah, that's an interesting. I mean, we don't even have time for it now, but that is a really
uh,
interesting topic.
yeah,
The old kind of that association with that has become a very different story. At least I've talked to a
yeah,
few Swedes about it, that now has connotations to kind of the further right leaning people. That's wild to me. Like, that's an interesting story.
yeah. Since those were the people trying to seek out other parts of the world and wanted
Yeah,
to connect.
yeah. It's really, we'll have to have that one another time,
Yeah,
but
we'll talk about that. But that's the connotation, as you said. I'm
yeah.
sitting here looking nice with a little campfire. Everybody's safe with me. This fucking guy with the beard and
It's
the
got
Viking strong man.
Volgad.
Yeah. No.
Well, fair enough, man. Well, look, we went almost right to. I didn't even look at the chat, but
Oh,
Shannon found the book that you were talking about, The
cool.
Destroyer. She posted it in the chat. But anyway,
Yeah.
man, it was really nice to catch up with you. And
I
next,
hope so. I hope I said something that was interesting during this hour.
oh, absolutely. I
I
think you
had
have
no
lots of,
idea.
uh, you
I had
know.
no idea since I spoke English. So
Well, I'm sure it was very offensive, and you hurt a lot of people's feelings. So that's a
yeah,
that's a victory.
cool.
Okay, well, yeah, thanks for coming on, man. And man, next time
Thank
you're in
you.
Stockholm, let's we keep saying it, but we haven't had a chance to do it yet.
Yeah,
Let's get together.
let's do that.
Okay,
Uh,
I'm gonna just move the stream over to the waiting screen, and then I can give you a proper goodbye. How about that? So
Yeah,
we're gonna
you
we'll
see,
be
and the fire is out now, so
the
it's
saddest fire.
perfect timing.
For everyone next, we're going to be taking about a half hour between our interviews. Up next, we have Sean Gordon Murphy and Rob Guillory are going to be talking together. So stick around for that, and we'll be back in about half an hour. See you then.